It's March, which means that a lot of guitar players have now given up on their January resolutions to make 2025 the year that they finally break out of the guitar rut and take their practice seriously once again. So today, I'm going to cut to the chase and give you some actionable tips for drawing a line under the past couple of months if you haven't practiced as much as you originally intended, so that you can get yourself back on the path of progress before you let another year slip by with no real progress. So tip number one is to let go of annualized thinking. One of the main reasons guitarists let their resolutions fade away by March is that they use annualized thinking and very vague terms when describing what they want to accomplish by the end of the year. This year, I want to play guitar more. In the next 12 months, I want to master the fretboard. When you think annually, there is no sense of urgency pushing you to accomplish your goals because December 31st is so far away. And because of that, it's actually very hard to formulate a plan for how you will accomplish your goals. For goals to become reality, they really do need to be paired with clearly defined and actionable tasks. Trying to plan that out for a full 365 days, it's just way too much to think about. So I recommend you stop thinking about your guitar progress annually and switch to planning your practice in 4-week chunks of time. This is going to achieve two things. One is that the increased sense of urgency will fuel your motivation to practice. Your deadline is 4 weeks instead of 52. The other is that it will allow you to narrow your focus to a shorter list of activities that you will practice exclusively for that 30-day block, as opposed to haphazardly practicing an undefined, never-ending list of techniques and concepts that you might want to get better at by the end of the year. So here's an example of how I might plan out a 4-week practice block. So I would think about the number one area of weakness that I want to improve the most in the next 4 weeks and write out a list of pain points that come to mind when I think about that. So just as an example, I'm going to use improvisation. When I think back to being a teenage guitar player who was struggling to get better at improv, I can definitely think of a few pain points that were bugging me at the time. I repeated the same licks over and over again. I struggled to highlight chord changes, and I could only improvise in like 1 or 2 keys. So from those 3 pain points, I can now start to think about daily or weekly action items that I can build my routine around and, focus my 4-week practice block on. So what could I do to stop playing the same licks over and over again? Well, I could just learn more licks, study more lead guitar vocabulary. That's one clear action item that I can write down for my routine. Every day for the next 30 days, I will spend 10 minutes learning one new minor pentatonic lick on YouTube or from an online course. What about playing solos that highlight chord changes? Well, for that, I could spend some time practicing triad-based exercises, since triads are a great tool for playing solos that highlight chord changes. Again, I can write that down for my routine. Every day for the next 30 days, I will practice my major and minor triad inversions for around 10 minutes. That might look something like this. And as for struggling to play in different keys, well, triads could help with that, but I could also practice some fretboard visualization methods. One that I used to break out of my own rut over a decade ago now that helped me to improvise in all keys was practicing scales through all 12 keys in the circle of fourths without moving up or down the fretboard. That sounds like this. That exercise helped me to visualize root notes in all positions of any scale on all 6 strings and in all 12 keys, and I used to practice that every day. But before I could practice that with any success, I had to learn a similar exercise that also uses the circle of fourths, but to memorize the note names on all strings, since you won't be able to find the root notes of a scale if you don't have the notes of the fretboard memorized. So that exercise looks like this. So if right now you're thinking, okay, I really like the idea of this 4-week practice block, but I'm not sure what to fill my practice routine with, well, I am currently holding a sale for my flagship course, Bulletproof Guitar Player. This curriculum was designed to help experienced beginner and lost intermediate guitarists break out of a never-ending rut by equipping you with knowledge on the same 2 pillars of musicianship that I studied to break out of my own intermediate rut over a decade ago now. Those are fretboard visualization and practical music theory. Here's what my student Tom had to say about the effect that the Bulletproof Guitar Player course has had on his playing so far.
So it was actually a while before I started playing again, like having learned all this stuff in your course. And then when I came back to, okay, I'm actually going to relax now and actually like have a play around, I was like, oh, this is different. Okay, like stuff is starting to click and this feels good and this feels like I can be more expressive. And there's definitely been some, even in my band, like some of the stuff I was playing and contributing, I was like, yeah, this is definitely better than what I could have done before.
The discount I'm running expires this coming Sunday, so if you're interested in checking it out, I've left a link in the description box and the pinned comment beneath this video. So by deciding on one area of weakness that you want to address over the next 4 weeks, you'll be able to let go of the distractions that come from annualized thinking and a vague idea of what you might want to get better at for the full year. And instead, you will narrow your focus to just one area of guitar playing with a short list of action items that you can easily build a practice routine around. And that brings me to tip number 2. Focus on actions, not outcomes. When you're deciding what you want to focus on in your 4-week practice block, make the goal of that block itself action-based, not outcome-based. Actions drive outcomes, but unfortunately, we can't just wave a magic wand and decide how fast we will achieve those outcomes. All we have control over is what we choose to spend our time on in our practice each day. I like working out, and I've learned from my own experiences in the gym that if I set outcome-based and time-bound goals like squat 120 kilos in the next 30 days, well, every day that I show up to the gym and don't hit that target will feel like a failure in my mind in some small way. And if I don't do it by day 30, like I said I was going to, that will only reinforce that feeling of failure. So whilst I still have numbers in mind that I'd like to hit one day, I don't focus on those too much. They're in the back of my mind for sure, but instead I will make the goal for the next month, I will squat 3 times per week, apply progressive overload, and track my progress in my workout app. That's a goal that's action-based. And that way, every day that I show up to the gym and tick off those 3 action items is a win, not a failure. So in your 4-week practice block, it might be tempting to write down a goal like shred this lick cleanly at 120 BPM. But that's a very specific outcome-based and time-bound goal that if you don't achieve at the end of the 30 days, will feel like a failure. I'm not saying don't push yourself to reach new heights. Have that in mind, but instead just change the goal to something that's action-based. For example, every day for the next 4 weeks, I will practice this lick for 5 minutes. I will increase the speed by 3 BPM each day and track my progress in my practice journal. So every day that you do that will feel like a win. And the more wins that you can stack up each day, each week, and each month, the more motivated you are going to feel to continue practicing. I'd recommend using a habit tracker or typing up a Word document to keep track of your daily practice, because personally I've found that seeing a visual representation of those daily wins stacking up over time, it really helps me to stay motivated with practice or fitness or whatever it is that I'm working on in life. Now, tip number 3 is a simple one. It's remember to have fun. I'm I'm aware that when I talk about practice and I use words like focus, motivation, wins, failures, at times it can make it feel like guitar practice all has to be super serious and not a lot of fun. And whilst I do advocate for practicing things that aren't necessarily always fun, or not as fun as, shredding over backing tracks, but do drive progress in the long term. Whilst I do encourage that, it's also vitally important that you remember to play things that just give you joy each day. I love playing metal songs for fun, even though I don't really perform metal live. I grew up playing the genre as a teenager, and when I'm playing Slipknot, Lamb of God, or Killswitch Engage riffs at home, it just reminds me of when I started playing guitar, at the age of 10. And I'm just able to switch off from thinking about scales, fretboard visualization, or theory. And I love that because I'm just able to enjoy the physical and emotional aspect of playing music I love purely for fun. So you could even add that into your list of action items for your 4-week practice blocks. Before you tick off the serious stuff, make it a rule that you have to play one AC/DC song before you begin the real practice. And I'm just using them as an example, but it could be any band or artist whose songs you love playing for fun and no other reason, right? So to recap, if your January resolutions have faded away and you want to take control of your guitar progress again so that you don't let another year slip by with no noticeable progress, remember to let go of annualized thinking and instead narrow your focus to short lists of action items that you can practice exclusively in 4-week blocks. Make your goals action-based, not outcome-based, so that every day you show up and do the work is a win. And remember to schedule in some time each day for playing music that gives you joy before you practice the serious stuff. Once again, guys, if you'd like to give yourself a second chance at making a ton of progress in the next few weeks, my fretboard visualization and theory fundamentals course, Bulletproof Guitar Player, is currently on sale until this coming Sunday. If you're an experienced beginner or lost intermediate player who's been stuck in a rut for far too long, this is your chance to break through that plateau by filling your practice routine with high leverage exercises that actually move the needle for progress. The link to the sale is in the description box in the pinned comment beneath this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.